Hi, I'm Amy and I'm a Quality Manager at the Money and Pension Service. In today's video, I'm going to talk to you about Standard 4C for Debt Advice Services, which is broken down into three parts: 4C 1, 2 and 3. Standard 4C is all about informing the consumer about the service before they substantially engage with it. Let's begin with our expectations on 4C 1. It is expected that the service informs the consumer upfront about what they can and cannot do for the consumer. This should allow the consumer to make a choice as to whether the service is right for them. Ideally, this would be explained before the start of an interaction, but if this is not possible, it is acceptable to present this information early on in the interaction, but before any further exploration into the consumer's presented issue begins. This information could be delivered by a practitioner or through an automated system such as an interactive voice response, commonly referred to as IVR. To confirm, consumer understanding does not need to be sought. Moving on to 4C2, the consumer should be prepared to answer questions, not just about their presenting issue, but also any other areas the service may deem relevant. This could include personal and financial information, and so the consumer must be informed upfront of the types of questions that they may be asked. That's not to say the service needs to detail the exact questions they will be asking, more just the categories of the questions. To say something, "I will ask you some questions about your personal and financial circumstances," will be sufficient in most cases. Again, this should be done ideally before the start of an interaction, or if this is not possible, as early on in the interaction, before any exploration of the consumer's presenting issue begins. And this could be delivered by a practitioner or via an IVR. Where a future appointment is being booked, the consumer must be informed of the sorts of information they should have ready in preparation for the appointment. Finally, 4C3. The minimum expectation here is that the consumer is informed of how they can find out about how their data is handled. It is not necessary for a practitioner to explain the detail of the service's data protection policy directly to a consumer. A signpost to the relevant policy is sufficient, and this again could be done verbally or via an IVR. With 4C3, this must be done before any data about the consumer is recorded. This includes voice data, and therefore should be done before a recorded interaction begins. All three of these standards have been identified as possible candidates for our revised pre-assessment process. This means that if evidence can be produced that any of these standards will be met every single time for every interaction, regardless of consumer circumstances, it will be pre-approved and will maintain an always met status until the service changes that evidence. Thanks for taking the time to watch today. If you'd like any further information, please visit the MaPS Standards page on maps.org.uk.